All right, guys, welcome back. Hopefully you had a really good discussion. I know we did when we did this one. And, some of it got into, I can't think of expectations. It kind of got into that, but that's what we're talking about. So just to tie it in on the physical side, realistically, we already talked about diet, nutrition, and that can be an analogy literally in every class that we do. It's just such a good example. But let's look at something like fitness. That's one of the things that I learned in the process of getting fit is that these feelings or these actions, these activities, they are requirements to be a good human being. We tell people that exercise is like oxygen. It's like your body needs it to function well, to function the way it's supposed to function, the same way it needs air, right? It's part of the requirement. So this idea that exercise is something that can be avoided, and that's kind of what the situation that we've gotten ourselves into as society, that we can somehow medicate away the problems caused by a lack of strenuous physical activity and nutrition, only to find out that that's not the case. So first of all, I went from thinking that was something that was avoidable to realizing it was something that was inevitable. It was something that had to be done. And some of that changes when we become aware of the consequences or when we start to experience some of the consequences. I guess another good example would be just quitting drinking. I thought of that as like optional. I'll do it eventually. I'll do it when I'm ready. And then I realized that if I was going to continue to live, it was going to have to happen. And where that change in perspective is important is, I've heard in recovery somebody say, you're going to stop drinking. You're going to stop using. Like, it's going to stop, whether it's a jail or a hospital or it's death. But you're not going to do it forever. And so we get the opportunity to change the way we look at it. If we look at going through that process of separating ourselves from that substance or that relationship or that chemical or whatever it is as inevitable, then we can begin to prepare ourselves for it rather than trying to just push it off and push it off. So CrossFit is a preparation program, and a lot of people think, well, in our society, I've never been mugged, I've never been raped, I've never been in those situations that will require me to be prepared for anything. But the fact is that it could happen at any time, and it's not, you never would try to scare anybody into it. It's not about fear, it's about reality. So not only might you face a situation just in your work day or just in your daily life around the house that might require you to pick something up and put it on top of something, but the reality is you could find yourself in a situation where fitness is required. So one example I like to use around here was about 2 years ago, I guess it's been, one of our movie theaters got shot up right downtown in little old Lafayette. And it's one of those things that doesn't happen here. It's not going to happen to me. But I think about, how many people got shot, how many people might have had a chance to make it out of there. Would they have been able to, grab their kid or even just themselves jump over the row of chairs in front of them and book it out the door? It doesn't guarantee that, but there is a possibility. There's another story that kind of hit home. When we first started training people, we had a former college wide receiver who was a coach at a local high school, and the dude was tall and lean and looked fit and athletic, and one of the kids dropped on the field, and the coach, well, whoever it was, pointed to him to run to the field house to get the AED. And he ran as hard as he could, grabbed it, started to run back, and about halfway, just hit the wall. And he told me that he literally, he was walking to the field, and the kid ended up dying on the field. And it's not to say that he wouldn't have otherwise, but hopefully you kind of understand what I'm saying. You don't ever know if you're going to find yourself in that situation. One last one. I remember when I was young, my aunt was we were at the pool. My aunt was sitting off on the side, and one of the kids had put the floaties on their thigh, the little blow up floaties on their thigh, jumped in the water. I guess they thought they were gonna sit up in the water, but she went straight under, and just her feet were sticking up out of the water. And I watched my aunt get up and sprint across the patio and dive into the pool and basically save this little girl's life. You know, it's things like that that we can't do if we're not fit, at least to some degree. If we're ill and broken and we've neglected ourselves, it's not just us that suffers. So, to end on a lighter note, all we're doing here is preparing. We're trying to be prepared. We're trying to prepare our bodies. We want to be as strong as we can be. And the same way spiritually, we want to be as spiritually strong as we can be so we can face the situations that are inevitably going to arise in life. All right? So, your workout today is 3 rounds for time, 25 kettlebell swings, 25 box jumps, and 25 sit-ups. It's going to be fun. Your score is time. There's no weight on the kettlebell, so you guys can just have fun with that. And then for your sobriety WOD, it's just from what you talked about in the discussion today. What would changing that look like? What would changing the way you think about it, and then whether you protect or prepare from it, how would that look different than what you're currently doing? So, love you guys. Thanks for being with us. We'll see you back next week.